The Underestimated. A Humanity. F asterisk 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 yeah. Story. Part 1. The Species They Should Have Feared. The Grand Council Chamber of the Galactic Alliance hummed with the voices of 1,000 different species. Representatives from across the known universe gathered in the massive crystal dome suspended in orbit around Centaurid Prime, the neutral world that had served as the Alliance headquarters for the past 3 millennia. High Chancellor Orcs, a tall, willowy being with 6 appendages and iridescent skin that shifted colors with his emotions, stood at the central podium. His skin currently displayed a calm blue-green as he called the chamber to order. The hum of voices gradually faded into silence. Esteemed representatives, Zorix began, his melodic voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber's perfect acoustics. We gather today to discuss the recent discovery in the Orion Spur. Scientific Expedition 7289 has identified a developing world with a spacefaring species previously unknown to the Alliance. A murmur rippled through the chamber. New species were rare discoveries these days, as the Alliance had mapped most of the galaxy over its long existence. I call upon Expedition Leader Talia to present her findings. Zorix continued, gesturing to a smaller figure waiting at the edge of the chamber. Talia, a meridian with crystal-like appendages and metallic bronze skin, moved to the center. Her species were known for their analytical minds and scientific precision. The holographic display at the center of the chamber flickered to life, showing a blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Honorable representatives, Talia began, I present to you the 3rd planet of the Sol system, called Earth by its inhabitants. The dominant species call themselves humans, and they have achieved primitive spaceflight within their own system. The hologram shifted to show various images of human civilization, cities, spacecraft, and the beings themselves. As you can see, they are carbon-based bipeds with minimal physical advantages. No natural weapons, modest strength, and relatively fragile bodies. They have achieved atomic power and digital computing, but their technology remains thousands of years behind Alliance standards. Another ripple of conversation flowed through the chamber, but this time with a distinctly dismissive tone. Many representatives were visibly relaxing, their interest waning. They have not yet achieved faster-than-light travel. Talia continued, though they appear to be theorizing about its possibility. Their planet remains politically divided into nation-states that frequently engage in armed conflicts over resources and ideological differences. High Chancellor Zorix's skin shifted to a slightly amused yellow. So they are primitive, divided, and pose no immediate concern to Alliance interests. I propose we add them to the observation registry for re-evaluation in 200 cycles, as is standard protocol for pre-FTL species. Most of the chamber nodded in agreement, but a harsh, raspy voice cut through the murmurs. You are making a grave mistake. All eyes turned to the source. Elder Krell, one of the oldest members of the Alliance Council. His species, the Vordax, were known for their longevity and cautious nature. Krell's gray, leathery skin was lined with the marks of extreme age, and his 4 eyes glowed with a deep crimson intensity. Elder Krell, Zorix acknowledged, his skin shifting to a respectful purple. You wish to address the council on this matter. Krell rose slowly from his seat, his ancient body supported by a levitation field. I have witnessed the rise and fall of 17 spacefaring civilizations during my lifetime. I have seen the patterns that precede great change in our galaxy. This species, these humans, they exhibit signs I have not seen in over 800 cycles. The chamber fell silent. When an elder spoke, especially one as ancient as Krell, all listened. Scientific Expedition Leader Talia. Krell turned his 4 eyes toward the meridian. Please display the technological progression timeline for this species. Talia hesitated for a moment, then adjusted the holographic display. A timeline appeared, showing human technological development over the past 1,000 Earth years. Krell gestured with a gnarled hand. Observe, 1,000 of their years ago, they traveled by animal power and sailed crude vessels on their oceans. 500 years ago, they began to harness steam power. 200 years ago, they discovered electricity. 100 years ago, they achieved powered flight. 70 years ago, they split the atom. 50 years ago, they walked on their moon. And now, they have permanent habitations in orbit and have sent robotic explorers to every planet in their system. The timeline visualization made the acceleration unmistakable. Some representatives leaned forward, now more attentive. But that is not what concerns me, Krell continued. Many species experience periods of accelerated development. What makes these humans dangerous is their adaptability and their response to adversity. The hologram shifted again, showing humans in various environments, Arctic explorers trudging through blizzards, deep sea divers descending into crushing darkness, astronauts floating in the vacuum of space. They seek out hostile environments not just for resources, but for the challenge itself. When faced with an obstacle, they do not go around it. They go through it. Their fictional entertainment frequently centers around overcoming impossible odds. They glorify the struggle itself. Krill's voice grew more intense. Most notably, they innovate most rapidly when threatened. Every major war in their history has produced technological leaps that would have taken decades in peacetime. High Counselor Drav of the militaristic Ursan Federation rose to speak. His massive, bear-like form towered over most other representatives. With respect, Elder Krell, primitive aggression, and stubbornness are hardly unique qualities in the galaxy. The Gronk displayed similar traits, and they were easily contained when necessary. Krell's eyes flashed. The Gronk were aggressive but predictable. These humans combine their drive with something far more dangerous: creativity. They think laterally, make intuitive leaps that defy logical progression. Already, their scientific literature contains theoretical concepts that their technology should not yet support. The chamber grew restless. Elder Krell was respected, but many thought his concerns excessive for a species that hadn't even achieved FTL travel. Chancellor Zorix's skin had shifted to a thoughtful green. What would you suggest, Elder? We cannot intervene in their development. The non-interference doctrine is the foundation of alliance law. Observe them more closely, Krell replied immediately. Establish contact now, while we can still impress them with our advancement. Set clear boundaries. Above all, do not underestimate them or provoke them unnecessarily. Zorix considered this for a moment, then nodded. A reasonable compromise. We will upgrade the observation status and prepare for possible first contact when they achieve their first FTL test. Most of the council seemed satisfied with this decision, and the meeting moved on to other matters. But Elder Krell remained standing, his ancient eyes fixed on the holographic image of Earth. As the council session ended, Talia approached the Elder. Your warnings were quite passionate, Elder Krell. Do you truly believe this primitive species poses a threat to the Alliance? Krell's gaze remained on the slowly rotating image of Earth. They do not pose a threat today, Expedition Leader, but I have seen this pattern before, long ago. There was once a species called the Orcs. The council of that era found them amusing. Primitive beings with outsized ambitions. They were contained, restricted, and patronized. He finally turned to look at Talia. Within 3 generations, they had conquered half the galaxy. Surely you don't suggest humans are similar to the Orcs? Talia asked, her crystalline features reflecting alarm. The Orcs were cruel by nature, Krell replied. Humans are something potentially more dangerous. They are adaptable by nature. They become what they need to be to survive. He gestured toward the Earth once more. Look at their history. They have transformed from warring tribes to global powers in an eye blink by cosmic standards. Their rate of adaptation is unprecedented. Talia studied the data scrolling beside the hologram. Their resource consumption is concerning. Their population growth rate as well. It is not what they consume, but how they innovate that should worry you, Krell said. Watch their progress carefully, Expedition Leader. I suspect you will not need to wait long for your next report to the Council. The diplomatic vessel Harmonious Exchange dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system exactly 50 Earth years later. By Alliance standards, it was barely a moment. But for humanity, it had been enough time to achieve their first successful FTL prototype. Captain Mira Kessler of the United Earth Space Force stood on the observation deck of Ganymede Station, watching as the alien ship approached, a gleaming, impossibly graceful craft that seemed to bend light around its hull. Behind her, the hastily assembled first contact team fidgeted in their formal uniforms. "Stop twitching, Dr. Chen," Mira said without turning around. "You look like a cadet at their first inspection." Dr. Elias Chen, Earth's leading xenolinguist, grimaced. "With respect, Captain, this is significantly more nerve-wracking than any inspection. We're about to meet representatives of a galactic civilization that has apparently been watching us for decades." Mira allowed herself a small smile, and yet they only decided to say hello after we activated the Alcubierre drive. Interesting timing. Ambassador Ojukwu, a tall, dignified man who had represented Earth in countless human diplomatic missions, stepped forward. "They likely have protocols about contact with pre-FTL civilizations. It's what we would do." "Perhaps," Mira conceded. "But I find it curious that they've been in our neighborhood for 50 years without our detecting them until now." The communication system chimed. "Captain, the alien vessel is requesting docking clearance. They're transmitting in perfect English." Mira's eyebrows rose. "Perfect English, not just a translation algorithm." "No, Captain. Native-level fluency, Oxford dialect specifically." The first contact team exchanged glances. They had prepared for communication difficulties, translation issues, cultural misunderstandings, not aliens who already spoke their languages better than many humans. "Grant them clearance," Mira ordered, "and inform Alliance Command that our guests are more prepared for this meeting than we anticipated." 30 minutes later, the first contact team stood in Ganymede Station's grand reception hall. As the airlock cycled open, 3 beings stepped through. The first was tall and willowy with color-shifting skin, currently displaying a formal-looking purple hue. The second was smaller with crystalline appendages and bronze metallic skin that caught the light. The third was a surprise, ancient-looking, with leathery gray skin and 4 eyes that glowed crimson. "Greetings," the tall one spoke in flawless English. "I am High Chancellor Orcs of the Galactic Alliance. With me are Scientific Expedition Leader Talia and Elder Krell, Senior Advisor to the Council. We come in peace and friendship to formally welcome humanity to the greater galactic community." Ambassador Ojukwu stepped forward with practiced poise. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, we welcome you to Ganymede Station. I am Ambassador Chidi Ojukwu. Allow me to introduce Captain Mira Kessler of the United Earth Space Force and Dr. Elias Chen, our foremost xenolinguist." Zorix's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. "Dr. Chen's expertise may be somewhat redundant, I fear. We have been studying your languages and cultures for some time." "So we gathered," Mira said, keeping her voice neutral. "Your English is impeccable." "Thank you, Captain Kessler," Zorix replied. "We find human languages fascinating in their diversity and expressiveness." Elder Krell stepped forward, his ancient eyes fixed on Mira. "You achieved faster-than-light travel much sooner than we anticipated, Captain. Most species take at least another century after reaching your previous technological stage." Mira met his gaze steadily. "We're quick learners, Elder Krell." "Indeed," the ancient alien replied, and Mira could have sworn she saw the equivalent of a smile cross his features. "That is precisely what I told the Council 50 of your years ago." The formal introductions continued, but throughout the diplomatic niceties, Mira noticed something odd. While Chancellor Zorix and Expedition Leader Talia maintained an air of benevolent superiority, Elder Krell watched the humans with what appeared to be cautious respect, perhaps even concern. Later, as the delegation toured Ganymede Station's research facilities, Dr. Chen managed to maneuver himself next to Mira. "Have you noticed?" he whispered. They're asking all the questions, but providing almost no information about themselves. Mira nodded slightly. Standard intelligence gathering. They're assessing our capabilities. But they've been studying us for decades. What more could they need to know? Perhaps they're trying to determine if we've discovered something they haven't, Mira suggested. Something that allowed us to develop FTL travel much sooner than anticipated, as Elder Krell put it. In the research lab, Engineer Commander Raj Patel was enthusiastically explaining the principles behind Earth's quantum communication network to an increasingly intrigued expedition leader Talia. So by entangling the particles across thousands of kilometers, we can achieve instantaneous communication without the traditional light-speed delay, Raj concluded. Talia's crystalline appendages trembled slightly. And this network extends throughout your solar system. From Mercury to the Kuiper Belt, Raj confirmed proudly. It's how we coordinate our deep space operations. Zorix and Talia exchanged a look that Mira couldn't quite interpret, but Elder Krell's 4 eyes narrowed perceptibly. That evening, at the formal reception, Mira found herself approached by Elder Krell while the others were engaged in diplomatic small talk. Your species moves quickly, Captain Kessler, the ancient alien said without preamble. Perhaps too quickly for your own good. Mira sipped her champagne. Is advancement considered dangerous in the Galactic Alliance, Elder Krell? Not advancement itself, Krell replied. But unguided advancement, without the wisdom to temper it, has destroyed many promising civilizations. And you believe humans lack this wisdom. All young species lack wisdom, Krell said. It comes only with time and often painful experience. The Alliance has existed for 20,000 of your years. We have seen civilizations rise and fall. We have learned patience. Mira studied the ancient being. And yet I sense you're not entirely comfortable with how the Alliance views humanity. Krell's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You are perceptive, Captain. 50 years ago, I warned the Council not to underestimate your species. Some listened. Many did not. They see your technological achievements as interesting but ultimately insignificant compared to Alliance capabilities. And you see something different. I see patterns, Captain. The pattern of humanity's development is concerning, not because you are hostile, but because you are unpredictable. The Alliance values stability above all. Unpredictability is viewed as a threat. Mira frowned. Are you warning me, Elder Krell? Perhaps, the ancient alien admitted. There are those in the Alliance who believe humanity should be guided more firmly. For your own benefit, of course. Guided, Mira repeated flatly. I'm familiar with that concept from our own history. It rarely benefits the ones being guided. Indeed, Krell said softly. History often repeats itself across species and millennia. He fixed Mira with all 4 of his crimson eyes. Humanity would do well to proceed carefully in its relations with the Alliance, Captain. Make allies where you can. Demonstrate value rather than potential threat. Before Mira could respond, Chancellor Zorix approached, his skin now a pleasant shade of social green. Elder Krell, I see you're getting acquainted with Captain Kessler. I hope you're not overwhelming our new friends with too much galactic politics on our first meeting. Simply sharing perspectives, Chancellor, Krell replied smoothly. Captain Kessler has an inquiring mind. As the diplomatic dance continued into the night, Mira couldn't shake the feeling that beneath the veneer of welcome and friendship lay currents of concern, calculation, and conflict. This wasn't just first contact, it was first assessment. And somehow she suspected that humanity's future in the galaxy hung in the balance. When the stars trembled, 3 Earth years after first contact, Captain Mira Kessler, now Admiral Kessler, stood in the secure briefing room of Alliance Observation Post Theta, just beyond the orbit of Pluto. The holographic display showed the latest edict from the Galactic Alliance Council, the Human Advancement Guidance Protocol. They're containing us, Admiral Kessler said flatly, addressing the assembled military and political leadership of Earth. Pretty language about guidance and responsible development, but make no mistake, they're establishing boundaries we're not supposed to cross. Ambassador Ojukwu sighed heavily. The Treaty of Harmonious Integration they've proposed would limit our expansion to our own solar system and 5 nearby uninhabited star systems. No further expansion permitted without Alliance approval. And what happens if we refuse to sign? Asked General Santos of the United Americas Coalition. Dr. Chen, who had become Earth's leading expert on alliance politics, cleared his throat. They've been careful to phrase everything as friendly guidance, but Elder Krell privately indicated that the consequences would be significant. The Alliance has technology millennia beyond ours. They could enforce these restrictions if they chose to. So we just surrender our sovereignty, General Santos demanded, his face flushing with anger. Accept their guidance like children. No, Admiral Kessler said quietly. We adapt. All eyes turned to her. The Alliance fears our unpredictability, our rate of advancement. They want to contain what they don't understand. So we give them what they expect on the surface. Cooperative partners, grateful for Alliance wisdom. Meanwhile, we accelerate our research and development in ways that don't attract attention. President Alvarez, who had been listening silently, finally spoke. You're proposing we deceive a galactic civilization with vastly superior technology. The risks are enormous. The risks of passive acceptance are greater, Kessler countered. I've spent 3 years studying the Alliance. They're technologically advanced, but culturally stagnant. They haven't faced a significant challenge in thousands of years. Their innovation has plateaued. While ours accelerates daily, Dr. Chen added, understanding dawning on his face. They're reacting to what they perceive as a potential threat because we don't fit their models of development. Exactly, Kessler said. So we sign their treaty. We express gratitude for their guidance. And we prepare. Prepare for what? President Alvarez asked. For the moment when humanity demonstrates its true value to the galaxy, Kessler replied. The moment will come. It always does. And when it does, we need to be ready. The Alliance observer vessel Vigilant Harmony maintained its position at the edge of the Sol system, monitoring all transmissions and ships entering or leaving human space. On its command deck, Monitor Captain Lyer reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. The humans continue to respect the development boundaries, he noted to his second-in-command. Their expansion into the permitted systems proceeds at a controlled pace, and their technological development has stabilized within acceptable parameters. They adapted to the guidance protocol more readily than expected, his second-in-command replied. Elder Krell's warnings seemed to have been excessive. Lear's skin shifted to a slightly smug orange. The Elder's concern for primitive species is admirable, but often unwarranted. Humans are intelligent, certainly, but they recognize the benefits of Alliance guidance. Their rapid acceptance of our technological standards proves it. The sensor officer interrupted. Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the human research station near Neptune. It appears they're conducting experiments with quantum field manipulation. Within permitted parameters, Lyer asked sharply. The officer consulted her instruments. Yes, Captain. The energy levels are well below restriction thresholds. Lyer relaxed. Very well. Log it in the observation record. The humans are curious. They test boundaries, but they don't cross them. What Monitor Captain Lyer didn't know, what the Alliance's sophisticated sensors failed to detect, was that deep within Neptune's atmosphere, shielded by the gas giant's natural interference, humanity's true advancement continued unabated. Inside Research Station Poseidon, Dr. Elena Ramirez watched as the experimental drive core powered up, its containment field glowing with an unearthly light. Field stability at 99.8%, her assistant reported. Quantum cohesion nominal. We're ready for test sequence 7. Dr. Ramirez nodded. Proceed. The drive hummed, a rising note that seemed to vibrate at the edge of perception. On the monitoring station, readings flowed across the screen. data that would have alarmed the Alliance observers had they been able to see it. Subspace field forming, the assistant reported, excitement bleeding into his professional tone. Dimensional folding initiating in 3, 2, 1. A small probe sitting in the test chamber shimmered and vanished with a soft pop of displacing air. Transit successful, a technician called out, receiving telemetry from the probe. It's arrived at the target coordinates. Alpha Centauri, exact position as calculated. Dr. Ramirez allowed herself a small smile. The fold drive works. Faster than light travel without using the detectable space-time distortions of traditional Alcubierre methods. The Alliance won't be able to monitor this with their current sensor technology. Her communications officer looked up from her station. Message from Admiral Kessler. Proceed with Phase 2. The stars await. 6 months later, disaster struck without warning. The Alliance core world of Helios Prime went dark, all communications ceasing in an instant. Then Proxima Secundus. Then 3 more systems in rapid succession. The Grand Council chamber erupted in chaos as reports flooded in. Order. Chancellor Zorix's skin pulsed a bright, alarming red as he tried to restore calm. We must have order to address this crisis. Elder Krell, now using a full levitation chair due to his advancing age, drifted to the center of the chamber. The void play has returned, he announced, his raspy voice somehow cutting through the panic. After 15,000 years, the ancient enemy awakens. Silence fell as the implications sank in. The void plague was a semi-mythical threat from the Alliance's distant past, self-replicating machines that consumed all technology they encountered, growing more intelligent with each assimilation. Impossible, Scientific Director Talia objected. The plague was completely eradicated, every unit destroyed, their remains cast into black holes to ensure no resurrection was possible. Evidently not, Krell replied dryly. The pattern matches historical records precisely. The plague begins at the edges of civilized space, cutting off communications first. Then it spreads inward, consuming technology and knowledge, growing stronger with each system it devours. Chancellor Zorix's skin had paled to a sickly yellow. How could this happen? Our monitoring systems should have detected any unusual activity in the outer regions. The Alliance has grown complacent, Krell said bluntly. We watch for threats we recognize. This one has been dormant for so long we forgot to look for the signs. What is our defensive strategy? Demanded the Ursan representative. The Federation will commit its entire battle fleet. Krell's 4 eyes blinked sadly. The historical records are clear. Conventional weapons are ineffective against advanced plague units. Each destroyed unit only provides more material for assimilation. The more we fight with standard tactics, the stronger it becomes. Then we are doomed, someone whispered from the gallery. Perhaps not, Krell said. The ancient records speak of unconventional strategies that were effective, approaches that the plague couldn't adapt to because they were too unpredictable. Chancellor Zorix stared at Krell, realization dawning. You refer to humans. I do, the ancient elder confirmed. In our concern to contain their unpredictability, we may have stifled the very quality that could save us now. The Human Advancement Guidance Protocol has been in effect for only 3 years, Talia objected. They cannot possibly have developed technology capable of combating the void plague in that time. It is not their technology I speak of, Krell replied. It is their thinking, their approach to problems. Where we see patterns and follow established protocols, humans see possibilities we would never consider. After hours of heated debate, a desperate consensus was reached. The Alliance would request humanity's assistance against the void plague, offering to lift all development restrictions in exchange for their help. Admiral Kessler stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Prometheus, reviewing the Alliance's desperate plea. Beside her, Dr. Chen and Dr. Ramirez studied the limited data provided on the void plague. Self-replicating machines that adapt to and consume technology, Dr. Ramirez mused, and conventional weapons only make them stronger. The Alliance is panicking, Dr. Chen noted. They've lost 7 systems already, and their defensive strategies are failing. 3,000 years of peace left them unprepared for an adaptive enemy. Kessler nodded. And now they turned to the unpredictable humans for salvation. There was no satisfaction in her voice, despite the irony of the situation. This threat is real, and it will reach us eventually. We help them. We help ourselves. The fold drive gives us an advantage, Dr. Ramirez suggested. We can move ships without the plague detecting them through normal subspace distortions. And Project Prometheus? Kessler asked. Dr. Ramirez smiled, ready for field testing. Theoretically, it should be effective against technology-consuming entities. Theory becomes practice today, Kessler said firmly. Prepare 10 ships with fold drives and Prometheus systems. We leave in 6 hours. Dr. Chen raised an eyebrow. The Alliance requested our strategic assistance, not direct intervention. They expected ideas, not a human battle fleet appearing in the heart of the conflict. Then they'll be pleasantly surprised, Kessler replied with a grim smile. Sometimes the unexpected is exactly what's needed. Monitor Captain Liar stared in disbelief as 10 human vessels suddenly appeared in the Proxima Thule system, right in the heart of the Void Plague infestation. There had been no warning, no subspace distortion signaling their approach. They had simply appeared. Impossible, he whispered. They can't have developed that level of technology under our observation. But the evidence was undeniable. The human ships were engaging the plague entities with weapons unlike anything the Alliance had deployed. Not the expected energy beams or kinetic projectiles, but pulses of something that seemed to disrupt the very cohesion of the machine entities. What are we seeing? Demanded Alliance Commander Vox, who had taken charge of the failing defense. Some form of targeted electromagnetic pulse combined with something else, the sensor officer replied uncertainly. It's affecting the plague units without destroying them, more like disconnecting them from each other and shutting them down. On the main screen, they watched as the human vessels systematically neutralized plague unit after plague unit. When the machines adapted and tried to assimilate the new technology, the human ships switched to completely different tactical approaches, sometimes using primitive kinetic weapons, sometimes employing decoys, sometimes retreating only to attack from unexpected vectors. They're fighting like no military I've ever observed, Commander Vox said with growing respect. No fixed patterns, no predictable responses. Each ship seems to operate independently yet somehow coordinated. Captain Liar's skin had shifted to a humble blue-gray. They're fighting exactly as Elder Krell described their nature. Adaptable, unpredictable, innovative. They're beating the plague at its own game of adaptation. Within 20 hours, the Proxima Thule system was secured. Within 3 days, 2 more systems had been reclaimed. Within 2 weeks, the Void Plague had been contained and the majority of its units neutralized. In the Grand Council chamber, Admiral Kessler stood before the assembled representatives of the Galactic Alliance. The mood was somber but relieved. The crisis had passed, but the Alliance had been shaken to its core. Humanity thanks the Alliance for its recognition of our efforts, Kessler said formally. We are pleased to have been of assistance in this time of need. Chancellor Zorix, his skin a respectful deep blue, inclined his head. The Alliance formally acknowledges that without humanity's intervention, the Void Plague would have consumed many more worlds, perhaps including Earth itself. We are in your debt, Admiral Kessler. As agreed, the Human Advancement Guidance Protocol is hereby dissolved, announced the Chief Diplomatic Officer. Humanity is recognized as a full and equal member of the Galactic Alliance, with all rights and privileges thereof. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. The crisis had transformed perceptions dramatically. What had once been seen as a dangerous unpredictability was now recognized as a valuable adaptability. There is one matter I must address, Kessler said, her voice taking on a more serious tone. The fold drive technology that allowed us to intervene so effectively was developed in secret, while we pretended to accept your limitations on our advancement. A tense silence fell over the chamber. We felt we had no choice, Kessler continued. The Alliance, with all its wisdom and experience, made a critical error in its approach to humanity. You saw our potential as a threat rather than an asset. You sought to contain what you should have embraced. Elder Krell, watching from his place of honor, inclined his ancient head slightly. Acknowledgement, perhaps even approval. Humanity does not seek dominance, Kessler assured them. We seek partnership, but it must be a partnership of equals, not one of patron and client. We bring different strengths to this alliance. Your stability and wisdom, our adaptability and innovation. Together, we are stronger than either would be alone. Chancellor Zorix's skin rippled through several colors before settling on a thoughtful purple. Your words contain hard truths. Admiral, the Alliance has existed for so long that we sometimes mistake age for infallibility. This crisis has reminded us that even ancient wisdom must sometimes yield to new perspectives. He rose to his full height. I propose a new council be formed, one focused on innovation and adaptation, with humanity playing a central role. The stars hold many wonders, but also many dangers. We have been reminded that stagnation, even comfortable stagnation, is ultimately fatal. As the council erupted in discussion, Elder Krell maneuvered his levitation chair next to Admiral Kessler. You hid your true advancement well, the ancient alien observed quietly. We learned from history, Kessler replied. Both our own and what we could glean of yours. Societies that control or suppress others rarely have benevolent motives, whatever they might claim. And yet when crisis came, humanity chose to help rather than exploit Alliance weakness, Krell noted. That, Admiral Kessler, is why I argued for caution in dealing with your species from the beginning. Not because I feared your capacity for destruction, though it is considerable, but because I recognized your capacity for growth. As the Council continued to debate the details of humanity's new role in galactic society, Kessler reflected on the journey that had brought them here. 3 years ago, the Alliance had sought to contain humanity's potential. Now, that very potential had saved them all. The underestimated had become the essential, and the stars, once limited by artificial boundaries, now beckoned with infinite possibility.